Welcome to Wrasslin Raw!
All right, you're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when Raw became more and attitude ruled. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
You think I forgot where you live?
Joe Giammatteo.
You guys are by far the rudest, most uncooperative people I've ever had the displeasure of working with.
I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett. We're going to examine WWE history, one episode of Raw is War at a time. But first,
you've got mail.
And it's a bit of a sad piece of mail today. We got the news that a gentleman by the name of Elwood Edwards, he was the voice of AOL, passed away a couple days ago as of this recording. A lot of our listeners probably are maybe younger and don't know exactly about the AOL, and the goodbye and the you've got mail and all of this is new to them here on the podcast, but these are sounds that we've been hearing for almost 30 years now.
Since the dawn of the internet.
Yeah. Let's not forget they handed out those free AOL CDs like fucking candy. In the mail, so everybody heard it at one point at least. But like I said, just a teensy bit of sad news, and we thought that since we appreciate Elwood Edwards' good work so much here on the podcast, we intend to keep on using it well into the future. We thought we would give him a quick 10-bell salute.
Goodbye, 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 goodbye.
Beautiful.
Godspeed, Elwood.
Deserving goodbye for him.
There's a tear in my eye right now, God damn it.
Well, we will continue his legacy, that's for sure.
We will, by legally using his
Yes.
Well, I don't think he's in any position to complain now.
He's not going to stop us.
The estate will be coming after us now.
Yeah.
It'll be the estate, not Elwood. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the Raw that aired on June 22nd, 1998. This Raw was recorded at the Frank Irwin Center in Austin, Texas, and features Jim Ross, Jerry the King Lawler, and Michael Cole on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, then, let's get into it. This episode started off with a recap of Paul Bearer's challenge to Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker last week. They were taking on Kane and Mankind in the first Hell in a Cell on Monday Night Raw, and we got a quick view of all of the hijinks that everyone got into during that match. We're going to be getting Paul Bearer via satellite tonight from his home, which looks surprisingly like a normal person's home and not at all like an evil mortician's death house.
Surprising lack of black and a lot of lighting. It was a little disturbing.
Nice little living room with a coffee table and
green robe.
Looked pretty normal, yeah.
27-inch tube TV in the corner.
I did love when they showed the recap video, though, of Undertaker attacking him, how they added that shotgun blast with every hit, just that boom, boom.
Oh, and hey, guess what? Kane, he's going to be breaking his silence tonight.
Oh.
I was really excited to hear that because Kane has the opportunity with that to take on a new level. We all agree he's not really the unstoppable monster anymore, but now we can maybe get an added layer of depth to his character. Here's hoping. After the proper intro, Vince McMahon came down to the ring to a chorus of boos, and that Hell in a Cell was hanging over the ring again. And I'm just going to declare it right now. The Hell in a Cell is no longer special, and nothing important will ever happen again with it because it's been overused on Raw.
Yep, never again. Everything following now is just going to be worthless.
Yep.
Yes.
Vince introduced Kane down to the ring, with JR highlighting that Kane has been silent for 20 years. It was hilarious to me, once again, that Kane just has no awareness of the hard camera at all. It seems like everything he does is in direct opposition to that hard camera view. Vince laid into Kane's past, assuring Kane that the scarred and tortured existence that has been an all-consuming hell for the past 20 years will be made all better when Kane becomes the WWF champion. That will all be despite Stone Cold Steve Austin, who is the ultimate challenge. The big takeaway from all of this, though, is that the championship match at the King of the Ring is going to be a first blood match. So says the owner of the company, but there will be talk of whether or not Austin will accept that throughout the episode. Kane then used his voice box vibrator, speaking for the first time in 20 years, to say that if he doesn't win, he's going to set himself on fire.
Jesus.
Vince makes sure to add that if that happens, Kane will breathe his last breath. In other words, Kane is going to fucking die.
Commit suicide here on live television in front of a pay-per-view audience.
Self-immolation. And that is where this wrapped up. So I thought this was a great way to start the show. Vince is in there to set up a story, but the story isn't revolving around Vince necessarily. We're going to add a level of drama to Kane. We're going to pretend like he hasn't already had his ass kicked by his big brother a couple times. I was really curious about how this was going to play out across the episode. So, Joe, what'd you think about the way we kicked it off here?
The big tease at the beginning for tonight's show was that we were going to hear from Kane for the first time, and they didn't waste any time. It was the first segment on the show. So it's a memorable moment, Kane getting that talk box device out to speak to us. I mentioned last week, I think, that Kane is basically like a jobber now.
Yeah.
In some ways. After watching this and hearing the way they're talking about him, it's almost like Kane is basically being billed as a freak now and not a monster. They might as well just put him in the oddities at this point.
That would have done wonders for his career. I'm sure he would have ended up where he did if they would have done that.
Right. We mentioned last week, too, that the Hell in a Cell match was being billed as the main event. So now they throw this stipulation in here. But you know what I thought about, guys, is how about the fucking King of the Ring? Does anyone care about that?
I care, damn it.
Yeah.
It's got brackets.
That's right.
The 18% care about that. So I thought that was pretty funny. Now we have basically this like double main event going on, and nobody gives a shit about the King of the Ring. And it's nice to see Mr. McMahon kick things off here. I thought this was a pretty good start to the show.
I completely agree. It was a pretty good start to the show. We get McMahon out here saying, Kane, this is your destiny. Just really laying it on thick, his pep talk to Kane. And we got Kane on the voice box. We all knew it was coming, and I thought it worked. He had a little bit of trouble working it there for a while, and you could tell it was just Glenn Jacobs' voice, and then he moved it around and got it in the right spot, or it might have been Vince's fault not putting the mic in the right spot, but I thought it worked pretty well. But to further talk about his loss of monster status, when they showed us the repeat at the beginning where Kane and Mankind got locked outside the ring and Undertaker's attacking Paul Bearer inside the Hell in the Cell, do you remember back when we first introduced Kane? He ripped the door off of the Hell in the Cell to get into it.
Good call.
Now he can't even get into the cage. So that shows you where he stands on the monster
Send
level.
Send him to the oddities.
Poor Kane. Poor Kane. But put that out of your mind. Very entertaining segment, and good job.
Well, they learned. They reinforced it.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, they got
so we got to make it Kane-proof.
Stronger zip ties this time.
Yeah, he was attacking the cage systematically for weaknesses. Found one. I need to ask you guys, I think I must have misunderstood things later on in the episode here then. So I thought that later on, Mankind is officially setting up Hell in the Cell with The Undertaker. They did that last week? Or it's already been set up?
What do you mean?
Well, Mankind's going to be in the Hell in the Cell with The Undertaker at the King of the Ring.
Yeah, that was set up like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was
Jesus.
weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not even last episode before that.
You were off a couple weeks, so
I
might have been doing that.
Okay. Well, I completely misunderstood the promo later on tonight. We'll get to that, though. You can't blame me. I was in bomb craters in Atlanta, for Christ's sakes.
That's right. No, you're in the battle zone there. It's easy to forget stuff when you're getting shot at.
Well, so we did move along pretty quickly from that opening segment. I'm just going to give a quick brackets update on the King of the Ring.
You a moaning and a groaning over that bracket?
Yeah.
We'll edit this out later because no one cares.
We're going to randomly award it to 18% of our Patreon subscribers. How about that? So we're down to the quarterfinals here tonight. We're going to have Double J versus Mark Mero, The Rock versus Triple H, Dan Severn versus Owen Hart. Like I said, that's all later tonight. But the first round is our first match of the night. Ken Shamrock defeats Mark Henry by pinfall in 4 minutes and 37 seconds in a King of the Ring quarterfinal match. I was looking forward to this going into it. There was a significant risk for a clash of styles here, but these two are also phenomenal athletes, so they had a lot of things going for them. Just when I thought he had finally given up, Commissioner Slaughter showed up to send the rest of the
I had
nation
the same thought.
back to the law. He waited until they got the whole way down to the ring.
Yeah, the whole way down, and then they popped our bubble.
But they got them out of there, and I thought this started off really well. Shamrock had speed and agility. Henry, low speed but maxed out power. Shamrock was trying to chop down this massive tree trunk of a man there in the ring. We got a bear hug from Mark Henry. Still, at this point in the match, one of the only people that can pull that off believably, and I always appreciate seeing it, but unfortunately, that was immediately put to the test because we went to that a couple times, and it really killed whatever momentum we had. I was really hoping for a strong rally from Shamrock after that to get the energy back, and just as I was typing that, we went into a third fucking bear hug.
He's got to get his breath. He's a big man.
Yeah. I did get really excited then when Shamrock managed to work up to a Hurricane Rana, putting Mark Henry out of the ring with that. But then some dumb son of a bitch somewhere decided to just yank the fucking e-brake on this match by having Vader come out and do that standing splash thing on Mark Henry that Vader does.
Talk about a feud no one cares about.
Yeah. Michael Cole said that it took the wind right out of Mark Henry. Well, Michael, it took the wind right out of this fucking match is what it did.
And the building.
Yeah. That directly led to an underwhelming belly-to-belly from Shamrock to get the pin and the win. Kevin, oh my God, Kelly was at the top of the ramp to interview Shamrock on his way out. Kenny did a fair job with it. It was quick, to the point, just the right kind of promo that Kenny ought to be doing. So just before we go any farther, and since he is not on the card in a match tonight, Ryan, could you please give us an update on Vader's current status?
I think he just called in with an update to let us know.
Excellent.
Maybe Vader time's over.
Yeah.
I'm nothing but a big piece of shit.
Oh, that's
Big
right.
fat piece of shit.
It never gets old. And there you have it. The big, fat piece of shit, as part of the finish, killed this fucking match for me. Joe, what'd you think of it?
I was enjoying the first part of this. We have two Stu Hart Dungeon guys, Ken Shamrock and Mark Henry, working in the ring together pretty well. And then Vader comes in and again, I had the same reaction. I'll say it like Cat Williams. What? Why?
Yeah, I'm in the same spot. I was enjoying this match. I thought these two guys paired up pretty well with each other. We got some good midsection kicks out of Ken to start it off. The Hurricanrana. I thought the move that really stole the show, though, was at the end. That was a beautiful belly-to-belly suplex that he gave to Mark Henry. Really impressive to be able to pick up a big guy like that and slam him with the authority he did. But I couldn't agree any more about Vader ruining everything I liked about this. Good action, pretty entertaining, and then just come down and take a dump on our chest, Vader, and just completely fucking ruin everything. It seems like it's been years now of them trying to find different ways to shoehorn Vader into a feud or into matches, and just every time they do it, it just lands like a wet fart. So I can't wait for Vader to be ignored and just put up on the shelf or disappear, whatever the fuck needs to happen. But hopefully he doesn't show up too much longer.
So I know we haven't gotten it on Raw here, but just has there ever been, and I'm talking anything you guys have listened to because I'm trying to think of it myself, has there ever been anything that addressed the big fat piece of shit promo? Because they just pretend like it never happened.
Yeah, I've never heard a single, because I've heard JR talk about how weak this stint of Vader's was,
right,
but never addressed the fact that he flat out called himself a big fat piece of shit.
No, I think we were all quite shocked to hear that promo. when it happened. And
But was it planned, or was that a shoot interview?
yeah, makes you wonder.
Yeah.
I thought Vader time was over, but apparently it's not.
Yeah. Well, Vader thinks Vader time is over too, but
Because to me, it almost came off as a shoot interview
Yeah.
of him basically pissed off with the way they were using him
Yes.
and maybe a little disappointed in himself as well and just venting his frustrations. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
that's exactly the same way I took it too. But all right, let's keep it going here. So at the end of that last match, we got a view of Edge hanging out in the arena, and my taint wept at the amount of rubbing it was going to get over the next 45 minutes until we finally got there. We got another DX Super Soaker commercial. Director called them rude and uncooperative. It wasn't good, but it was the best one so far, I think.
The worthless camera guy that they got this time actually had some charisma.
Yeah, he was able to read the lines without sounding like a total piece of cardboard. We came back to Edge again, creeping up on the upper deck there, and Dustin Runnels praying in the ring. This was just a quick one. Ryan, did you end up bowing your head with Dustin here?
I had to put in a good word with the Lord there to get through this match with Dustin Reynolds and his career still being intact.
All I could think of was the past couple weeks how you've said how Dustin Runnels just looks like absolute shit right now. It's like we get a look at Edge, who looks like cool as hell in the crowd, and then immediately Dustin Runnels, who looks like absolute shit.
Yep.
Like a faceless gray.
Yes.
Is what he's dressed as.
Yep. He is somebody that probably died or got their ass kicked in like the first 10 minutes of a movie at some point somewhere along the lines.
He'd be listed in the cast as like tough guy number 3.
Yeah. He's the action movie version of a red shirt from Star Trek here. All right. So let's go then into our next match. X-Pac with China defeats Dustin Runnels by pinfall in 5 minutes and 31 seconds. I had no notes at the start here. I did like the running kick to the head that X-Pac put on Dustin while Dustin was outside of the ring, and I had no more notes until China hit Dustin with a great elbow on the head while outside again. I also liked the multiple baseball slides that X-Pac did into the side of Dustin's head at one point there, laying in the ring. About the time that Dustin started to rally, things started to feel really sloppy in the ring, and I don't think that's just because he looks sloppy in almost every facet of his existence right now. It was almost like Dustin was like getting ahead of himself and not communicating well with X-Pac and jumping the gun and just rushing things. I really liked JR's line about Dustin. He said he turned the other cheek and almost got his head taken off. And this ended with Dustin again bowing in the corner after he lost. I'm on record already with my critiques of this version of Dustin Runnels. I'll just say that the best parts of this match were when somebody was kicking Dustin Runnels in the fucking head. So, Ryan, what'd you think of it?
I thought X-Pac looked pretty great in this. I thought he picked up right where he left off last week with Triple H. He looks entertaining, quick. Really, everything about him is pretty good, except his mic skills. And this is something the WWF has desperately been missing. These light wrestlers, light heavyweight wrestlers, and WCW has been definitely had a leg up on them here right now. So.
What are you talking about? There's a whole championship division for light wrestlers.
When was the last time that belt was put on was it about 6-7 months ago, the last time we saw that?
I don't know, whenever he won it, probably.
But having X-Pac here is definitely a strong thing. This is something WWF had to build up, and with him, they're doing a good job of it. But man, does Dustin Runnels need to just go back to Gold Dust. That's where it ends with me. I'm going to forget about everything he does until he gets rid of this bullshit gimmick and puts the gold paint back on. Yeah. And I'm only hoping that if my timing in my head is correct, this should be the last week he's wrestling for nothing. So maybe he could afford the gold paint again and we'll get Gold Dust back.
Okay, here's hoping.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that about the other light heavyweight chumps that we've seen so far, because X-Pac, for me, he's basically what I wanted guys like Taka to be as far as how they work.
Mm-hmm.
We can't forget about that match that X-Pac had against Bret Hart 4 or 5 years ago. That was not a fluke.
Right.
Like he's a great wrestler. this was a good win for him. There's a couple things I noticed tonight that look bigger, and one of them is Chyna's arms. I think that maybe she was
A little extra
dipping
juice.
into the gas a little bit. Dustin's a bum right now. Like, he's a total bum. And I got to think that they're going somewhere with this born-again gimmick that he's doing. I would assume it's maybe morphing back into Gold Dust at some point soon, but I don't remember. This is just not memorable at all to me, so I'm not real sure what's going to happen.
I thought maybe with the Born Again gimmick, they were going to have a tag team with him and Jake the Snake.
That's funny that you bring that up, because I was just about to say that the Born Again thing didn't fucking work with Jake, so who the hell thought that it was going to work for Dustin here?
Well, make him a tag team. Let's double down on it.
I would really love to believe that you're right, Ryan. Like, he's riding out this working for free thing, because he's getting nothing out of this, and by that I mean star power, entrances, music. He's got nothing. He literally looks like he lives in a fucking cardboard box next to Duke the Dumpster. He looks like a piece of shit. But maybe there's that optimistic part of me that's like, once we get to the end of this span and he's going to come back in some grand Gold Dust fashion, all glitter and shit. But then you would think that they would mention it at some point. Just a quick aside of, yep, he's still working for free. And that's it. Move on. Something. But they haven't mentioned it at all. There's been zero explanation for any of this. So
just, oh, look at Dustin. He's no one.
They did say that he looks like he lost a couple pounds, but it's so hard to tell because he's practically wearing a fucking burlap sack. All right. So let's go now to Paul Bearer in his home. Did you guys notice that he has a framed 8x10 promo photo of Kane hanging on the wall above his head there?
It's his son.
Yeah. Proud papa.
Yeah.
It's the kind that you would get autographed where they hand out at shows. All Paul really had to say here was that Kane will definitely light himself on fire if given the chance, but he will not have to. After that, Edge, still lurking in the audience. My taint can't possibly take any more. Jerry Lawler then was in the ring next to call out Al Snow. And I won't even bother with the costume that Al was wearing. I was not very entertained by this. And I'm actually not blaming Al Snow necessarily in this. I'm blaming the fact that he was booked in an angle that's essentially from the 80s. Because the King's crown got taken. That's what brought us here to this point. And that just made me think of the Repo Man and Jean-Pierre Lafitte and all of the other stupid fucking examples of how a stolen article of clothing or stolen something turned into a shitty fucking feud. Of course, at one point it devolved into the Jerry's Kid angle there in the ring. JR got a good chuckle out of that. But the bottom line of this garbage is that if Al Snow and Head win a tag team match against Too Much at the King of the Ring, he'll get his meeting with Vince McMahon that he's been after for like a month and a half now. I did enjoy Al Snow laying down in the ring and saying, "Pin me, pay me." That was good. But it turned into a weak swerve with Too Much coming out, and I didn't even bother to finish trying to explain this because I'm over it. Kevin Kelly was waiting backstage after that to get Steve Austin's response to Kane's First Blood challenge. Steve was not present. Spoiler alert, he won't be until the very end. And Edge is still hanging out in the fucking crowd. And I think I might hate Edge now. I don't know. We're going to have to see where this goes because, like, we still just keep on getting the same. It's like we had him out on the streets. Now we've just got him in the arena, but it's the same goddamn thing. And this is where this segment ended. Joe, so with the extensive amount of Al Snow content in this segment, I wanted to go to you first here. What do you think about debuting Al Snow against Too Much at the pay-per-view and the rest of this segment?
Well, I'll start with Paul Bearer at his house. I thought, Ryan, I think you should start wearing a green robe like Paul had while you record these shows.
How do you know I'm not?
So you can be the most beautiful man in podcasting. And the Hell in a Cell feature that we got here, I think they are doing a great job of featuring the structure much like they did the first time around when we had Shawn versus Undertaker. And obviously they're really featuring it a lot on these past couple episodes of Raw by having it hanging above the ring for the whole show. And then, yeah, Al Snow, I've already given my thoughts on him the past couple weeks. It's almost like I compare the whole Head gimmick to how Socko becomes a thing that is over.
Yeah.
Then you get the stupid puns about getting head and giving head and all that stuff. And, but that aside, I can't remember the last thing that Jerry Lawler was involved in that I thought was good.
No.
That wasn't commentary.
That was not commentary. Yeah, anytime he's in an angle with somebody, like, it's never good. Maybe it just doesn't hold up very well, but many of the things that he has been involved in are not memorable, so they probably sucked back then too. So I did hate this segment with Al Snow, but I guess it did make me hungry for some chicken fingers because they were talking about chicken fingers.
Yeah, kind of in agreement with you there. The whole segment just felt like filler. Why Al Snow was out here, I really didn't care. The only thing that did stick out to me that I found a little entertaining was at one point Al Snow breaks kayfabe when he's reading over the contract. He says, "Oh, I see. You want me to do the JOB on the PPV," basically exposing the fact that people are jobbers and they're just sent out there to lose. So I thought that was a little bit interesting. And Bartlett, I do agree with you. I liked when he pulled out the pin me, pay me. That's something we're going to hear about the job squad coming up. So there were bits and pieces of this I didn't hate, but overall it went on too long and for the most part fell kind of flat.
Yep, let's get the hell away from it then and get into our next match. Double J, Jeff Jarrett, with Tennessee Lee, defeats Mark Mero with Jackie by pinfall in 4 minutes and 31 seconds in a King of the Ring quarterfinal match. I really appreciated Mark taking a moment during their entrance to emphasize that Jackie has a gorgeous ass. I appreciated that. Tennessee Lee, he rolled out that dumb fucking red carpet, and it made me think that if Jarrett has no heat, like we've been saying, Tennessee Lee is actually the worst fucking promoter in the history of the business, because that's his job. So checkmate, assholes.
Double J keeps on winning, though.
Yep. Thanks to Tennessee Lee.
At what cost? We got the news from JR that Sable has been employed in an unknown capacity by Titan Sports, the parent of the WWF, which made me laugh because apparently there's multiple women that have been employed in unknown capacities throughout the years at Titan Sports.
Yep, that seems to be an ongoing theme.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of fiction imitating reality. There was not a single person in the arena on their feet for this. We got a couple of nice close-up replays of botched moves there in the ring, both from Mero and Jarrett. I had zero further notes until Sable came out. Once again, she only had to go halfway down the ramp to generate more noise than the rest of this match in its entirety. And halfway down the ramp is also just enough to distract Mero and give Double J the pin and the win. Kevin Kelly once again was waiting to get a word with the winner here. Double J gave a standard answer. It was fine. Tennessee Lee tried to say something after that, but Kevin Kelly ignored him, and Tennessee Lee pretended like it never happened. Guys, if I'm reading this situation correctly, at least, it looks like Titan Sports has basically hired Sable to distract Mark Mero.
That's what it seems like. Come out here in a tight one piece, distract the audience, distract Mark Mero.
Yeah. Pennsylvania Joe, please, what'd you think of this match?
The first thing is I love commentary talking about Mark Mero and Jackie and how grotesque they are in the locker room area because they can't keep their hands off each other. I love that they're selling that. That's hilarious to me. And nobody cares about this match. It's two heels. It's guys that really don't have much heat right now. But they insert Sable into it, and that's what gives it meaning because that's what the crowd wants to see. So Sable, I am pretty sure that she had yet another breast implant surgery, and it makes sense because she went away for 2 weeks.
Yep.
And she's wearing this, she's got this full body coverage going on these past couple weeks. So, my goodness.
They got topped off.
When are they going to burst? Cineburst.
Oh, God.
The match itself, as you both have pointed out, zero heat or care from the audience. But I will say they're both solid mid-carders. They come out here and put on a pretty good, fast-paced match, the kind of action you want to see. So neither one of these guys are ever going to sell tickets for people to show up. But I do think if you caught a match between the two, you're not going to come away disappointed from the action. Just you may not care about it that much. The other part that was very clear, though, and this is just from the first second of Jackie walking down the ramp with Mark is, and we've touched on it before, but just how much better she is than Sable. The amount of charisma that comes out of her just walking down the ramp is evident over Sable's robotic screech down the ramp when she comes down. So they don't know what they're doing really with either one of these characters, but they should figure it out because neither one of them are bad workers. They are just put right now in storyline and in situations that nobody gives two flying fucks about them.
Yep, couldn't agree more. I still can't get over that whole Double J no heat thing, and I think it's really sunk into my brain like something fierce, and it's making me look at Double J Jeff Jarrett in really different ways now. I don't know. It's an ongoing thing, but I think he might suck. I don't know.
For now, yeah.
I mean, he certainly doesn't in the ring, though.
I don't know. What's more important, and this is a conversation we've had with other people, what's more important, the work in the ring or how it makes us feel as fans, and is it bringing us back? Because he's not bringing me back right now.
No, he's not.
What does bring you back, though, is the Cineburst Rewind.
Oh, yeah.
Huh? How's that? We rewound back to the Hell in a Cell last week. This was footage of JR screaming bloody murder while Austin was donkey punching Kane on top of the cage.
Austin wants Kane!
That quickly took us into our next match. Kane defeats the Road Dogg with Billy Gunn by pinfall in 4 minutes and 2 seconds. So I was really curious to see how this was going to go. Story notwithstanding, I'm talking about just purely in the ring. And for me, at least, this was a stark contrast to that last match. Everybody here was on their feet for this. There was a ton of heat pouring out of the crowd. My first big note on this was that this pairing really highlights the body shape of the Road Dogg. And I do not mean that disrespectfully in the least bit. I like the Road Dogg.
By all means, his physique is certainly his weak spot.
And I am sure that he is in great shape here. I guarantee he could kick my ass even to this day. So that's not where I'm going with this. But like, he stands out in DX as being the least in shape out of all of them.
He's no Billy Gunn, that's for sure.
And Kane just plain makes him look like a fucking slob here in the ring. I couldn't get the fucking Kid Rock comment out of my head the whole time while I was watching this.
He's not straight out of Compton. He's straight out the trailer.
And that's all I really ended up having on this match. And it wasn't bad. Road Dogg put up a decent fight, but even with Kane's spotty record, there was no way the roadie was going to win this. So, Ryan, what'd you think of it?
Well, and that was the feeling I had going into it as well, is obviously there's no way the Road Dogg is going to come out the victor here. But I was still a little disappointed in how long it lasted, because if Kane is supposed to be a monster, like, why wasn't this 10 seconds? It should have been a 10-second squash match.
Yeah.
Kane should have came out, especially the way the Road Dogg looks.
He's an oddity now.
Yeah, he's a freak.
I was disappointed that this was not quicker if we're going to try and make him a monster. But again, I guess if he's not anymore and he's just a oddity, he could last longer in the ring there with Road Dogg. I did love that they cut to Paul Bear sitting at home a couple times in his robe, though, watching the match. That added up a couple ticks.
Proud Papa.
But the crowd definitely was involved, though. So regardless of my disappointment in their treatment of Kane, it seemed like everyone was loving it, and the match was not bad. I just felt Kane should have won quicker. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I thought it was an odd booking because Road Dogg to me is well, first I want to say that I guess it's nice to see someone new against Kane. We've only seen him go up against like Undertaker and Vader and Mankind. So it's nice to see him go up against someone else, but Road Dogg is a tag team champion. He's a goofball in the ring and out of it. So I don't take him seriously ever as a wrestler because he has a certain style that's just entertainment, more sports entertainment.
Yeah.
I thought it was odd because he didn't get squashed here, but he's a tag team champion. So I just thought it was a little bit of a weird pairing here to have these two in a match. And we did get just a New Age Outlaws intro because him and Billy Gunn were the only ones who came out, which was good to see because we've only seen the whole fucking DX pass the mic around bullshit. So that was cool. Road Dogg would have made a great DJ in another life if this wrestling thing didn't work out. He's really good on the mic.
Yeah, agreed there. And I think that it was a really good example of his skills after that last match. He came out and within, 4 or 5 words of his intro, he had more energy out of the crowd than that whole last match ever could have hoped to have accomplished. So
the last point I would like to make is I would find it believable that the match lasted this long if they would have allowed Mr. Ass to stay down here and interrupt and basically make it a 2-on-1. Then you could drag it out because now it's more believable 2-on-1. But just the Road Dogg and his physique against Kane, this should be choke slam right out of the gate, match over.
Yeah. All right, so as Kane was exiting the ring area, Paul Bearer cut another promo. This is up on the Titantron there, right above Kane. Again, talking about recent events and how they add up to the upcoming title shot at the pay-per-view. And while he was talking there in his living room, the lights flickered, and Paul Bearer blamed it on heat lightning right before the Undertaker came in.
We all knew better.
I think it's easy to forget that when Paul Bearer was younger, he was a wrestler. He knows how to sell. In between last week, this week, it was on display. The Undertaker beat the shit out of Paul Bearer. He trashed Paul Bearer's living room. I fucking loved it. At the end, he even picked up a recliner and just chucked it across the whole fucking room before the camera feed cut out. And that's all that was in this mid-match segment. There's more to it than I make it sound like, but I'm not going to quote it. So like I said, it's always great seeing Paul Bearer selling for people. It's also great that we don't get it too much because it makes you appreciate it that much more when you do get it. But the thing that I really got a kick out of in this was just this image in my head of the Undertaker hiding in the hallway, flicking the light switch before stomping into Paul's living room and kicking the shit out of him. Ryan, what'd you think of this?
I thought it was highly entertaining. Paul Bearer delivers a great promo. And yeah, the moment we see the lights flickering, we all knew what to expect. But I will admit, when The Undertaker first broke into the living room, for a split second, I thought it was chains he was in his biker gear here.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that leather gear. I could have swore it was the DOA at first, but
I would have quit this podcast.
Thankfully, it wasn't. And Bartlett, I completely agree. Paul really selling great, made this whole segment look brutal. I loved it. This is like when Stone Cold attacked Brian Pillman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Right. Oh, that's all we needed was, oh my God, Kelly there to commentate on stuff. So yeah, very fun. I liked it.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Again, Paul Bearer is such a good worker. I mentioned this last week when he was in that cage getting his ass beat. He is morbidly obese.
Morbidly.
But man, what a good worker for someone who's so out of shape.
You sound like the judges from the SNL Chippendale with Chris Farley, even though your body's so bad.
Yeah. Kevin Nealon, I think, was one of them.
Yeah.
One thing that's surprising here, I don't know if you guys noticed, but they're continuing this story from last week where Paul Bearer got his ass beat in the Hell in a Cell by The Undertaker, but they're not showing what happened last week. I'm guessing it's because of the blood, and it's like this is the first hour, so I caught on to that. I was like, man, they're continuing this story, but they're not showing what happened, and typically Vince McMahon and Monday Night Raw, it's like show it 1,000 times so that they know what's going on, but they didn't do it. I'm guessing it's because of the blood.
Yeah. Well, so instead of showing all of the young children at home blood, we're going to show them our next match. Edge.
He's finally here.
Finally. Edge defeats Jose Estrada by countouts in 1 minute and 7 seconds. Finally, some relief for my poor taint. Unfortunately, Edge got an Ed. God, that's what I'm going to keep calling him Ed.
Calling him Ed.
Until this shit resolves. But Edge got an entrance similar to DX in that there's like a tinted camera lens, bit of a strobe effect. It's not as
More
bad.
seizures.
Yeah, it's not quite as bad as DX, but it was too close to DX for me to really enjoy it. Besides the fact that I couldn't sit straight because my poor taint. Jose was already in the ring and got the complete jobber treatment. JR did say that Jose was representing Los Boricuas here, and I was really surprised that we weren't pretending like that never happened yet.
When I give my recap of the match, I'll add a little extra.
Okay. Edge hit 2 really weak-ass moves there in the ring, or so they looked. At the outside, Jose went down and did not get back up. This is what gave Edge the count out, and I was just really confused about what was going on until they showed multiple replays of Edge's right leg coming down on the top of Jose's head at just the wrong angle, showing that, yeah, Jose definitely got some damage done to him here. This was not a wrestling angle. They did have EMTs and medical personnel there, but we really quickly moved away from that. So, goddamn, pal, weeks of teasing to the point of being rubbed raw only to have the debut end in 1 minute and somebody nearly fucking died. I can't believe I didn't remember this. Like, this is another one of those things, like, I don't remember this coming up in any of, like, the modern wrestling podcasts or anything like that. Edge's debut match, he nearly cripples somebody. So,
yeah.
Joe, please, what'd you have on this match?
Well, it's nice to finally see Mr. Edge. And he really rose, his popularity really rose at a time where I was no longer watching wrestling, but I am really looking forward to seeing the beginnings of his career and eventually getting into tag team work. So it's nice to see him here finally. For anyone who's listening now for the first time, maybe, like, they've been teasing this guy for like 12 weeks now.
Yeah. 97 is the first time we heard about him.
He's finally here. Commentary is trying to sell him as a tortured soul with rage problems. That seems a little cheesy, but...
So he screamed in the ring a couple times.
Yeah. This match happened, and I had a couple thoughts. Like, I didn't know if I hated this or if this was real. Like, what's going on here until they showed the replays and stuff. And then I'm like, oh, shit, this was like a total accident. And I went on YouTube to see what happened to Jose. Like, is he all right? Is there any information on this? And Edge does talk about it. There was like a 4-minute clip of him talking about this and how just deflating this was. And yeah, this was totally real, and it sucks for Jose because he's injured.
Yeah.
Sucks for Edge because, my God, like, having that kind of build up and then this is how you debut on TV, it's just shitty.
Yeah. And we start off with Estrada. He's being treated like a Class C jobber in this match. And just everyone in a 10-mile radius of the fucking arena knew what the outcome of this match was going to be.
Are you saying that he will not be winning Jobber of the Year this year?
And that's the thing, is I was going to give him Jobber of the Week until it ended the way it did. I can't give a guy Jobber of the Week when he almost had his fucking neck broken and the match was cut short.
You got to spare him.
But one of the interesting things during that time when I did look up some information about him, when I was possibly thinking about doing him as Jobber of the Week, that was when I found that this was, 1, a legitimate injury and will put him out for some time. But 2, I found out that Los Boricuas, but without Savio Vega. Savio will be leaving Los Boricuas here in July, but Jose and Jesus will continue Los Boricuas all the way into 99. So,
Jesus. Wow. On Superstars.
Yeah, they might make another Raw appearance, one or two, but mostly bullshit appearances.
Okay.
Yeah. But they will be with the company until 99.
Jesus.
And yeah, that was basically the ending I came on, was I can't give this guy Jobber of the Week for Edge almost fucking killing him. And I found that same video, I think that you did, Joe, of Edge talking about it and saying how embarrassing it was and just what a terrible debut to his career to injure someone. So not a very good start for Edge, hurting motherfuckers right out of the gate after that 23-week buildup.
The real 83 weeks.
Hopefully things will pick up for him, though, and we'll get to see some better stuff out of him soon.
Yeah, and a good call on Jose. That's once again one of the many reasons why you are eminently qualified to be the president of the Carpenters Union, make those kinds of decisions.
Thank you.
But really, it's like all of this edging and taint teasing to get 83 weeks worth of blue balls.
Yeah, that's what it is. Blue balls this match gave us. All that edging, and then they just kept it going.
Edging. Oh. All right. Next up, backstage, Kane. Kane was trashing the locker room with one hand while holding the voice vibrator up to his goozle with the other. And there was just a monotone buzz coming out of him. I guess that's him screaming.
It was like a mixture of a kazoo and a didgeridoo. They were just playing.
Mankind was there trying to settle Kane down and managed to do so. And in the end, I actually really ended up liking this scene. It got me in the feels in the way that only a soap opera made for teenage boys can. Getting Kane to settle down there and talking him down from his rage. We also got an update on Jose. He was getting carted out on a stretcher along with multiple replays of his injury. So this was another real brief segment. So Joe, did you have anything you wanted to add on to it here?
It was pretty good comedy for me. I thought that Mankind trying to calm down Kane was pretty funny, given that Mankind is also this psychotic character.
Yeah.
Same. I thought it was very entertaining. The didgeridoo going the whole time. I got a good laugh out of that. And I thought it ended really good. You had Kane looking like Mankind. He was sitting on the ground, rocking back and forth, kind of like Mankind used to do when he first got in. So I thought they did a good job with this.
Yeah. All right, let's go into our next match. Dan Severn defeats Owen Hart by submission in 2 minutes and 56 seconds in a King of the Ring quarterfinal match. Talk about a dream match for me. And that was the only note I had until the finish. There was a really contrived use of a steel chair that made zero sense. X-Pac did a run-in on Owen. The entire match fell apart there, and I fucking hated it. I'm just going to end my bit here by saying that I was very able to clearly see the downside of Dan Severn in this. His moves look good when everything is perfect and his opponent is with him, but sometimes it looks like he's forgetting to take care of his opponent. Sometimes it looks like he forgets to assist in executing moves, and while the whole finish was an absolute train wreck of bullshit, Severn specifically did a horrible fucking job of working through it. And I hate to say it, but I think I'm over Dan Severn now.
Oh my God.
Ryan, what did you think of this match?
I'm glad you're seeing the light here on Dan Severn, because yes, when he is doing a MMA style move, a toss or something like that, he looks perfectly fine. But the moment you ask him to be a professional wrestler, it just falls to shit. And this whole ending with the chair and X-Pac, it was convoluted and stupid. And I didn't want to see Owen Hart lose this either. I thought that was dumb. I'm not excited for Dan Severn. Maybe I was months and months ago when they teased him a little bit, but I'm ready for him to go already. So goodbye.
Give him the official.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think this is goodbye for Dan Severn.
No,
I think we're going to have to suffer through a few more. But I actually did not want Owen to win this match because JR told us that the winner of this match will face the winner of Triple H and The Rock. And I thought, if we get another Triple H and Owen Hart match, I don't know. I may have to quit this podcast. Again, that's twice I've threatened that tonight.
Looking for any reason at this point.
Grasping at straws to get the fuck away from it.
But what a clusterfuck with X-Pac coming in here, and I get why they did that. He wants his revenge from last week. And Severn just sucks. And after the match, after X-Pac's interference, Dan Severn is gloating up the ramp. Like, what did you do other than bore us to death with your wrestling? I don't know why he was gloating like that at the end. Like, again, I think, well, I do know why, because he's a shitty sports entertainer.
And outside of his wrestling, we already know his mic skills are piss poor. So it's like, man, if you can't do that and you look robotic in the ring, good luck.
Yeah.
It's still, I still am sad about that, though, because there are still many things about him that I do like. I don't think I want to have him ruined in front of my eyes anymore.
Too bad.
Well, I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
It's going to keep going. Yeah, we got a JVC kaboom of the week, which was the finish of the last match, so I hated it all over again.
Just literally 30 seconds earlier.
Just rubbed my fucking nose in it. The Nation had come down to support Owen after the finish of the last match, and while they were there, The Rock grabbed a microphone and issued a challenge to all of DX to come on out and get busy. A flood of officials came out with DX also. They kept DX up on the ramp. We broke to commercial, during which almost everybody else got cleared out so that we could go into our next match. The Rock defeats Triple H with China by pinfall in 8 minutes and 6 seconds in a King of the Ring quarterfinal match. Ring announcer Tony Schimmel introduced Triple H as the European champion, and I realized I had completely forgotten about the European title, that it even existed.
Yep. IC title, too.
Yeah. This is a champion versus champion match, for God's sakes.
But neither are on the line.
No.
God forbid.
Well, it's more important. It's King of the Ring. That's
right.
Everybody's looking forward to who the King of the Ring is going to be.
Aren't we glad that that match last week got ruined so that we could build a story for this match? So I had also completely forgotten that Triple H had won last year's King of the Ring tournament. Commentary started talking about how he was here trying to be a 2-time winner, and I had to look it up because I was like, didn't Austin win last year? No, that was 2 years ago now at this point.
Yeah. Because Triple H was originally supposed to win the Austin year, but then the curtain call thing happened, and
he won against Mankind last year.
Yeah, and a good match, if I remember.
Yeah, but I still forgot it, though.
Yeah.
I did, too, but that just kind of goes to show.
Well, we pretend things never happen.
Right. I didn't have very much on this match through the first half of it. Commentary further clarified for us that if Kane loses that title match, not only will he set himself on fire and fucking die, they wanted to make sure that we all knew that he's going to do it in the middle of the ring, in front of the pay-per-view television audience.
Will that effectively mean that he is out of the WWF as well, though?
I don't know. That's a great question. There's a lot of people that have been leaving the WWF and coming back lately, though, so.
Hopefully we'll get a goodbye song for him if that happens.
Yeah, the tribute, the Anne Murray tribute.
The Anne Murray.
Yeah, this will be like the fire under my ass or something.
Yeah. The real interest for me here came when Chyna interfered during a ref distraction. She planted The Rock with a DDT, and when Triple H took the pin, The Rock kicked out at 2.5. That was nice. I also liked how the second attempt at interference backfired. It gave The Rock the opening to hit a nut shot into a fisherman suplex, bridged into a pin. And that series wasn't exactly smooth, but it was a good finish to the match. DX rushed the ring, things turned into a clusterfuck. Commissioner Slaughter was impotent in his attempts to stop it, and that's where this ended. So, the semifinals at the King of the Ring. This is going to be at the pay-per-view. It's going to be Ken Shamrock versus Double J, and The Rock versus Dan Severn. Talk about reversal from some of our earlier matches. I thought this one had okay action, but I really appreciated the finish to this one. Joe, what'd you think of it?
Well, I thought maybe, just maybe, gang warfare in the WWF just sucks no matter who is involved.
Yeah.
But this match alone, I thought that it was a pretty good match. There was no people's elbow or rock bottom. That was a little disappointing, but I thought it was a pretty good match. I just really keep hating this whole let's keep people away from ringside angle that they're doing. They've never explained it. I'm not sure why they keep doing it. It's just annoying to me at this point. But I guess Chyna is allowed to be there twice. She was there during this match and was it X-Pac's match? I don't know. We saw her earlier.
Yep. I wonder wonder, are they allowed to come out with a manager, but without a
she's
posse?
a valet.
Yeah.
I suppose, but there's just no explanation for it. I'm not sure where they're going with it, and they've been doing it for a while now, and it's just annoying. And also, like, live crowds for sure want to see these people, whether they're in a match or not. You know, you could have them interfere, and then the crowd can say, oh, we didn't get, so-and-so in a match, but at least he was at ringside for this other match. Also, there's a bait and switch here. These assholes are making us think that we're possibly going to get a Ken Shamrock versus Dan Severn in the finals when these dickheads knew for sure that was not going to happen. So fuck them for that.
I agree. Fuck them for that. This match was probably the best wrestling that we got out of the night. The thing that stuck out to me was when the commentary told us that this was champ versus champ. And like you, Bartlett, it made me remember that both of these belts even exist, because we have not heard about them. There hasn't been a match. Nothing about either one of these two titles has been mentioned in months. So I don't know if they're ever going to actually do anything with it, but pure action. This was fun. And I did really love the end with The Rock, the great looking fisherman suplex into that bridging pin. But then the Nation and DX, they come in and battle and agree on the whole doesn't matter who it is. Gang warfare is just boring. Could have done without all of that, but pure wrestling wise, not bad.
Yeah, and I'll just go on the record here as saying that I think I agree too. Gang warfare, no matter who, sucks. Let's see what's up next. Backstage, Kane was still screaming into his vibrator. And after a commercial break, we came back to Mankind in the ring, cutting a promo. This was while the Hell in a Cell was being lowered to the floor. This is where I started to misunderstand things. The long and the short of it, Kane was talking about meeting the Undertaker in the Hell in the Cell, the King of the Ring pay-per-view.
Mankind, you mean? You said Kane. You mean Mankind,
Oh, I'm
right?
sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, Mankind meeting the Undertaker. You can't blame me. It's so easy to get confused because, like, I really don't foresee this Hell in a Cell match being anything special or monumental.
No,
it's going to be a throwaway match. No
Waste
one's
of
going to
money.
remember it.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about Mankind's promo here. I'll leave you guys to comment further on it, but I will pause so we can do that. It was really good to have Mankind doing one of his, like, eloquent and deranged promos sitting here in the center of the ring. I feel like we haven't had that really lately, a lot of it at least lately, so that was nice. Ryan, what'd you think of this segment?
As usual, Mankind, when he could get on, Mick Foley in general, when he gets on the mic, he usually is going to cut a pretty solid promo. And I thought he did here. The way he ended it, though, he said that he had something special in store for all of us that we would not expect. Man, going into this match, I don't know exactly what he's talking about, but he's right. Anyone that remembers what's happening here, and of course no one remembers it because it's completely forgettable,
Right.
This Hell in the Cell. But anyone that does will remember there is something special about it. I'm just not sure how he already knew that.
I think it's Terry Funk getting choke slammed out of his shoes.
That could be it. That could be it.
This promo from Mankind, I'm not sure. I'm not going to say it was good or bad. I just tuned it out for some reason. I don't know. When I was watching the show, I was just like, that was just a plain promo from Mankind. I didn't think it was good or bad, but there was nothing memorable for me when he was cutting it.
That took us into our final match of the night. Mankind defeats Billy Gunn with China by submission in 5 minutes and 40 seconds. The cage went back up during Billy's entrance, so this is not a Hell in a Cell match. Something I haven't mentioned really at all is that Stone Cold Steve Austin was supposed to be arriving at the arena, like, constantly during this entire episode. As a matter of fact, I kept on thinking of Turkish 2 minutes. Well, it was 2 minutes, 5 minutes ago, Tommy. Stone Cold has not been on camera yet at all. But at this point, JR tried to suggest that the enormous cage that moves at about 1.5 feet per minute is some kind of trap for Stone Cold. In the match, I just sat back and enjoyed this. Not a match of the year candidate by any means, but it was a decently brutal main event for a Monday night. The work was solid on everybody's part. We really kind of highlighted the brutality that Mankind can get into here. It's just that there wasn't anything that necessarily stood out to me about it. Mankind ended up winning with the mandible claw and then very quickly left the ring area. I kind of thought about ending the segment there, but with about 5 minutes left in the episode, I thought, fuck it, we're just going to let this play out. Cameras followed Mankind back to the locker room where Kane had been before, but Kane and his Goozle vibrator had disappeared. Back in the arena, Sable came out to walk around in circles and wave to the people there in the ring. It's amazing she doesn't trip over her extension cord while she's doing it.
Or fall forward.
Yeah, she'd bounce right back up like a weeble. She eventually got on the mic to introduce Stone Cold Steve Austin, who did end up coming out, and I was very happy to see Steve just really talking down to Sable like she was a moron, essentially telling her to get out of the ring and go flip Vince McMahon the bird for him. Austin accepted the first blood stipulation, and then I popped when Austin said that Kane can go ahead and set himself on fire because Austin will be there with a beer and some marshmallows. And if the fire starts to go out, Austin will throw another log on. Kane's entrance and some pyro at the top of the entryway were a perfectly timed response to that. No sooner had the final word come out of Austin's mouth than the pyro hit and the organ music. But rather than come down, Kane stayed up at the top of the entryway and a bunch of blood poured down out of the rafters onto Stone Cold Steve Austin there in the middle of the ring. All I could think of was when they tried to do the same thing on Kevin Nash in WCW and missed by like 2 feet.
Yeah.
I'm glad they hit it here, though. But actually, you know what? That made me want to ask you, Joe, who did it first? WWF or WCW?
It was this one.
Okay, that's what I thought. Just wanted to make sure, though. So that was a case of WCW ripping off Raw here.
Yeah.
So,
No, they never sue each other.
Kane jammed the old vibrator into his goozle there and said something that I really couldn't catch. I didn't understand it. Commentary clarified it for us, but it was kind of nothing. And with the final view on our screens of a very angry Austin covered in blood in the middle of an enormous pool of blood in the ring, we faded to black. So I just wanted to tack on at the end here. It might interest you guys to know that the real final match of the night tonight was a dark match where Austin defended the title against Mankind. And I'm assuming that he did that in an enormous pool of blood. So that would have been a hell of a sight for that live crowd. Like blood wrestling for the title.
Almost
Jesus.
like a mud wrestling match, but in blood.
Yeah. So I thought this was a great finish to the go-home show. I thought this was an incremental improvement over the past 2 weeks. It was good to see that they are able to write an entertaining episode that does not lean heavily on the whole McMahon-Austin thing or a derivation of it. We were able to get away from that. We still had our taste of Vince. We had our taste of Austin at the beginning and end, but the bulk of the episode wasn't really related to them, and it was still mostly high quality and mostly better than the previous 2 weeks. So I'm just happy that we can learn on these like sub stories and have them come out as pretty decent storytelling. So Ryan, what'd you think of our final match and the way that Raw ended tonight?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Everything was pretty good from this final match on. The match between Mankind and Mr. Ass was fast-paced, and I thought it displayed Mankind's skills pretty well. The one thing that did stick out to me with the ref, though, was Chyna assaulted Mankind multiple times on the outside of the ring and was not disqualified. But Mankind did make this a pretty damn entertaining match, which he, of course, won, as we expected. Then we get Sable coming out, and this is an example of, do we really need her? Like, the sole purpose of her was to come out and say Stone Cold's name and then walk away. That was it. But Stone Cold came out, and that promo that he cut on Kane was beautiful, talking about how he'll happily watch Kane commit suicide on television. And then great ending. Kane coming out. I think everyone thought when he did his little arm motion thing that it was just going to be the fireworks shooting up around Stone Cold. But no, this time he gets some blood poured on him. And the moment that happened, I remembered this scene. It's one of those scenes that definitely stick out when you think back. And great way to fade to black with Austin just pissed off, staring into the camera, covered in blood, standing in a a giant puddle of blood. So all of that worked, and I thought a really great way to end this Raw. And as you stated, Bartlett, we've had a couple weeks that kind of been missing the mark, especially in their ending segments. But this one I thought really hit home and did a good job.
Yeah, with Mankind and Billy Gunn, I thought this was a really good display of really just putting Mankind on display here, because he's got this big Hell in a Cell match coming up in 6 days that they want people to pay for, and he looks good in this. He gets a good win here, sneaks the mandible claw in there. Good work by Billy Gunn to make Mankind look really good here. And Sable is just, like I said before, Sable's looking more and more like Wendy Whoppers each time we see her. And she got the Anne Murray tribute video to go get new boobs.
Yeah.
They're huge and the high beams are on. She's got her Catwoman bodysuit on, so
yeah, that thing was tight.
Yeah, she's showing off everything, all of her goods for the crowd, and they love it. And she's used quite well here because it's very minimal. The minimal use of her is always better. And she introduces Austin. Austin's sporting a new shirt. He's got this Austin 316 baseball jersey, which is really cool. And yeah, we get the bloodbath. So it's a magic trick that they pulled off that worked pretty well. I know we laugh about the Kevin Nash thing, but it's probably not an easy thing to pull off with people that aren't used to doing it, but everybody was in the right spot. So it worked. And really, because of it working so well here, I'm sure that's how they got the idea to use it later for the Brood whenever they come in.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was a pretty good ending, a good build up to the show that's coming up. The one complaint I have, it's just stupid complaint knowing what's going to happen in this next event, but they haven't really focused on Undertaker versus Mankind very much going into the event, which is pretty interesting considering, does that really matter? With what's going to happen, it makes you think, does that even matter?
Maybe if they would have built it up a little bit, people would have remembered the match. But
maybe, yeah.
Here we are. No one fucking remembers King of the Ring, Mankind versus Undertaker. Did that match even happen? I can't remember.
Yeah. I tell you what, this new added layer of the Goozle voice box has made me really, really excited for Austin versus Kane. I don't know what's going to happen. Is he going to like cut a promo now at the beginning of it and talk about blood? Is it going to be like all twisted and freakish and demented? I'm so excited for that. Not for the Hell in the Cell. So as I said, we faded to black. So let's take it on over to highlights and lowlights. Ryan, why don't you take that first?
I think I'm going to have to go with the end of the show, starting with the final match all the way to the puddle of blood. All of that was a highlight. I almost gave it to Taker attacking Paul in his robe solely because of the robe, but I think there was enough pieces in this final segment that edged it out, and it wasn't Edge. Speaking of Edge, lowlight. Edge versus Jose Estrada. Edge completely fucked it. Let's be honest here. He destroyed his debut here, injured someone on his first day on the job. Obviously, things are going to pick up for him, but this was a low point for sure.
I will pick up from there. My low light is Ryan informing us that Los Boricuas are going to be on the roster until 1999. And my highlight is Paul Bearer being attacked by Undertaker in his own home with some woman screaming in the background, by the way, which I would assume would be
Undertaker's mom.
Yeah. Well,
moaning and a groaning and a screaming.
She's bones now. We saw her in a So yeah, that was my highlight.
My highlights, I ended up going with just the overall improved quality of the show versus the past 2 weeks, because those last 2 weeks, man, they sat heavily on me.
That's interesting because this was a taped show too. This wasn't live.
I was worried with those last 2 weeks that we were going to be backsliding, but this episode, it righted the ship. Definite improvement. Low light, the death of my Dan Severn fandom. R.I.P. my fandom.
Wow.
And that's all I'll say about it. Yeah.
He might be the next King of the Ring.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope not. With what we got tonight, let's hope not.
Unlikely.
Joseph, do you have any contemporary wrestling news from on and around June 22nd, 1998 for us?
Yes, I do. From the Wrestling Observer, I have some news here. There's a couple stories that we've all heard about when it comes to King of the Ring 1998. The first one is that Steve Austin was hospitalized the Friday before this Raw that we reviewed tonight due to a staph infection in his right elbow. Caused a 104-degree fever, and he is hooked up to an IV. So there's a little bit of nervousness whether or not Steve Austin will be able to make the event, the pay-per-view event. So
that does explain why the cage was still above the ring, though, from last week.
Yeah.
Right. And also the other story that we've heard is The Undertaker. He suffered an ankle injury.
Broken ankle, I think. Right?
Yeah, and apparently he injured it during the spot at Paul Bearer's house.
I was going to say, did he like trip over the coffee table or something?
Or maybe it was when he fell back in that seat. Remember where he like fell back into the chair for a second?
Yeah, I don't know, but Dave Meltzer had a really good quote here. He said, "The Undertaker will almost surely work the Pittsburgh pay-per-view, albeit in a limited capacity, and the feeling is that Mankind is going to have to almost completely carry their cage match."
Well, we know that's not going to happen. That's why it's forgettable.
You'd hope that Mankind would be ready for that. Well, I guess we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm guessing Mankind, he's just going to phone it in.
Yeah. Dave's also reporting on Jose Estrada. He is saying that he does appear to be okay at this point. He thinks he's hearing that it's likely a sprained neck with a possible pinched nerve. So it sounds like Jose is going to be okay. I know you guys have been wondering where Pierre of the Quebecers has been.
Yeah. I haven't been able to sleep.
Yeah, he had his knee scoped and he's been out of action. Not sure when he'll be back. Phineas Godwin was hospitalized on June 15th with an intestinal infection.
Good Lord.
It doesn't stop there, gentlemen.
Intestinal infection?
It doesn't stop there. Luna missed some recent house shows due to food poisoning.
Jesus.
Damn.
Someone's putting something in the food there.
Yeah. Sunny missed another autograph session on June 21st, basically because she's just an asshole. Not because she was hospitalized.
Drugs and alcohol probably related with that one.
Yeah, I'm sure she had some excuse for it, but they weren't going to buy it. This Raw, I believe, was this San Antonio or was that last week or both weeks?
That was last week. This was Austin.
Okay, so being that it's in that area, Shawn Michaels appeared at a WWF event for the first time since WrestleMania. I think it was likely an autograph signing event. He still has not had surgery at this point in time. The hope was for him to potentially return by Royal Rumble. So we know what's going to happen with Shawn, but that's the reporting from Dave Meltzer at the time. And last but not least, I thought this was interesting because we know what Vince McMahon is going to do with the XFL in a couple of years. But this was something I did not know. But during this time, there was some talk that the WWF was interested in buying the Minnesota Vikings football team.
Huh. That's interesting.
Apparently they were for sale, and Vince was going to possibly buy the Minnesota Vikings. And that is all.
Thank you, Joseph. Do you think he would have moved them and called them the Stamford Titans? That would have been before Tennessee. You said that Luna got food poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't Mr. Sweatpants trash the catering room?
There you go.
Yeah.
He's to blame for that, too.
Mr. Sweatpants is just raining on everybody's parade.
She took some food off the floor, and next thing you know,
she just picked it up. Because she's from the future.
He suffered for it, too. He broke his ankle, so.
That's
yes,
right.
That is true.
That's the karma.
Yeah.
The curse of Mr. Sweatpants. And that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW. Just add @gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and tell all of your friends to tune in to the most bloody Monday Night Raw review podcast on the airwaves. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be taking a look at the 1998 King of the Ring. Very little known pay-per-view that virtually nobody ever talks about. This is going to have matches featuring Taka Michinoku, the new Midnight Express, Bodacious Bart, and Bombastic Bob.
And that's what everybody remembers.
And many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin' Raw.